Hello, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us today. You are here to learn best practices for engaging your amazing students with the book, A Brand New Start. This is Home. And this course today is for educators serving our TK to second grade students. My name is Michelle Drake. I'm with the Marin County Office of Education. We are thrilled to be here today in partnership and collaboration with the Marin City Historical and Preservation Society, Felicia Gaston, the Dominican University of California, and the Marin County Free Library. These teams have come together to provide you, our amazing educators, with resource guides, tools, and activities to really being able to bring to life the text and the primary sources that are within this book. We have a full agenda today. Please do know this session is being recorded and will be available on our resources. And all of the resources will also be shared on our website, which I will link into the chat here momentarily. Now I'm going to pass it over to Katie Lewis, who will introduce us to a short welcome video from Dominican's President, Nicola Pritchard. Katie, take it away.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Katie Lewis. I'm an associate professor of education at Dominican University of California. And before we go into the video from President Nicola Pritchard, I just want to let you know that we will have a PDF copy of today's slides available for you, as well as the recorded session. So thanks, Michelle. If you are curious about today's roadmap, we do have one on the second slide for today. So we'll do some welcomes from each of our community partners here. We'll have a connector activity. We'll talk about curriculum connections, and then we get to have a nice walkthrough through a sample activity and hold space for resources and questions. So without further ado, I'd like to share with you a welcome from Dominican's President Pritchard.
I'm Nicola Pritchard, President of Dominican University of California, and I'm delighted to welcome you. Our faculty and students have been privileged to work with Felicia Gaston on many important projects, either through her role as founder and executive director of Performing Stars of Marin, or as creator of Marin City Historical and Preservation Society. We're honored to support her efforts to elevate and celebrate the rich and often complex history of Marin City and its residents. We're delighted to expand this collaboration by joining with the Marin County Office of Education and the Marin County Free Library to develop lesson plans and materials based on Felicia's important work. Marin City's history is not often heard by Marin residents, and it's a very important story for us to tell through the lens of Black experiences. I'm honored that Felicia trusts Dominican to help bring her book and its lessons into Marin County schools. Thank you.
All right, to take us back to our roadmap and agenda, next up we have Felicia Gaston here with us. So I'll hand things over to Felicia to give us an intro.
Good afternoon. It is such an honor and pleasure to be on this exciting team with Dominican University and the Marin County Free Library, and of course the Marin County Office of Education, to be able to share Marin City's Black history story to all of the children in the Marin County Office of Education school district. 67 schools is such a big achievement and accomplishment. It gives me great pleasure and pride that all of our students will know more and more about Marin City's history, their journey, and having the connection between both of the academic world through the approval of the Superintendent John Carroll, Office of Education, to make this happen. We are super excited to dwell on this big endeavor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Felicia. I was moving through our slides here, and next up we have a welcome from Lana Odlin from Marin County Free Library.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lana Lowen, Director of the Marin County Free Library. And we are, as other partners, so thrilled to be part of this endeavor, really uplifting this history and making it more available to all students in Marin County. I'm joined today by a tremendous team of library staff members, Ramona Little Taylor, our Assistant Director for Public Services, and Lynn Mays, our manager over our Civic Center Library and our Antique California room. Both of which are essential in supporting this project, connecting to the historical resources in Marin County Free Library and beyond. So for the library, and all of our partners, I think bringing and centering this history and this endeavor is key for all of us. And we're so excited to be able to connect with all of you in this way. So thank you, Felicia, for always bringing this project forward. And we're just happy to help and support.
Great, thank you. Apologies for the delay there as I click around. Next up, we have an exciting connector activity that that we will kind of ground us in the work that we are setting forth with our project, a collaborative initiative. So I will hand things over to Trevon Riley to introduce us to the connector activity.
Hello, I'm Trevon. And today we're going to just look over text from page 39 from the book, A Brand New Start, This Is Home. And we are really want to focus, I want you to take a look at the title, neighbors looking out for each other. We're going to give you a second to, as you read over the text, I want you to consider some things about your own neighborhood. What is similar and what is different? And we'll give you a quick second or two to read over. So again, we just hope that didn't take too short of a time, but we wanted to introduce this piece from the text in the book to kind of get you to think and the kids to think about, what are some of the things that's familiar that they see in the page. Again, like I mentioned, what is similar, what is different, and how do you feel, or what makes a good neighbor could be some of the questions that we can take from this page. So yes, and also too, what did you learn from talking to, after you share, you can ask the kids, what did they learn from other sharing about the page? And we can go into how do you become a good neighbor, or what does it take to be a good neighbor? So yes, this is just the activity for neighbors looking out for each other.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. And for our listeners out there, this connector activity was an intentional placement for you because this is one of the activities that we're going to be talking about for the curriculum connection. So thanks again, Trevon, for walking us through that connector activity. We also have a PDF. MCOE has a PDF of this activity and related questions, I believe, on the resource site that we're going to be talking about as well. Okay, I'm going to move us into curriculum connections, and then we will, as promised, get into some of those activities that we sort of gave you a sneak peek into. So one of the things that's really exciting about this collaborative initiative is folks at Dominican, of course, have had the opportunity to work closely with Felicia and MCOE, as well as MCFL, to start the work of connecting the TK through 12 curriculum to the important topics that Felicia has outlined in her work. So what we hope to do today is to give you a peek at the work that's happening and sort of ground us in some curriculum connections so that we can all start bringing the book to life in our classrooms. So the first thing that is important to know about thinking of curriculum connections, is really taking a deep dive into the California history framework and starting to think about what the big topics are and some of the historical analysis skills are that would be really useful when teaching lessons from and with this book. So as you can see, we have laid out some of those big topics by grade band level. And because today's focus is TK through second grade, I'm just going to comment on what you see listed here. Across the framework, across these grade levels, what we're asking students to do is to study biographies and photographs as primary sources, to make connections to their own personal lives, and to really start to practice some of these comparison and analysis skills with primary sources. So here we can see that there are biographies, personal stories in the book. There are photographs that we can use as primary sources. There's a focus on community identity when we unpack the TK through second standards. And within the community identity piece is comparing the past with the present. So as we move forward with curriculum, you'll start to see how those activities work really well with this book. And then the other two pieces to point out is as the standards are moving from TK, Kinder first, and then into second, students are asked to really think about why people came to California, why they wanted to come to California to settle. And so that becomes a topic that's something we can unpack for lessons connected to this book. And then the other piece to pull out from the TK through 2 standards is understanding concepts of heroism and courage. So if you were one of the lucky second grade teachers who came through and did a field trip at MCOE, you may have seen a checklist of sorts that second graders could use, where when they are walking around the Marin City exhibit that Felicia put together, they are looking for evidence of people who are showing courage. So there's a really explicit connection there to the history framework for California. On our next couple of slides, this is meant to sort of visually anchor the work that's currently happening with our partners around curriculum. And as the teams met, one of the things we realized quickly is that there are some major history topics in this book there are some major history topics that connect to topics that are outlined in the book. So we want to explicitly and visually lay those out for you here. But the opportunity is to connect to Jim Crow, World War II, Great Migration, and some of the other topics that you see here. So consider this slide more of a visual anchor for our work and looking for common threads in the curriculum. This slide tells you a little bit more about where we're starting the work. So the initial plan is to start mapping some of the big ideas and stories from the book to the California framework elements. And we're able to do this from TK all the way to 12th grade. So we can clearly see where there's some overlap and where we can dive in and do some deeper lesson planning ideas work. So point 2 here is, how are we continuing the work? Well, we're going to extend that mapping and continue to offer lesson ideas. So we really invite you as educators and librarians and administrators to offer feedback and make requests about what could support your teaching of these important topics. Okay, a whole section here devoted to TK through second. I hope that this visual is not overwhelming to those in the Zoom space or watching the recording. But what we thought would be helpful is to start to break down the California history framework, including significant questions and historical analysis skills, and to start to map these to some of the topics in the book. So on the left side, where you see the column with grade and theme, what you're seeing is this is the theme from the history framework for TK and Kinder. And then as you move across this row, we get to some potential standards in the framework that you could use for lesson planning. In the next to last column, here's where we're sharing additional resources for lesson planning and some initial ideas about how you could use the book. So I'll highlight a couple things here. Is particularly in TK and Kinder and moving into first grade, there's a real opportunity to use the beautiful collection of photos in the book and facilitate sorting and comparing activities with your students. And so in some sense, we are analyzing photos of the past as a primary source. So if you have your book with you, I hope you do, you could turn to page 43, for example, and notice that there's a beautiful collection of photos of common household items in the 40s and 50s in Marin City. So if you had color copies of those photos, you could use them, cut them out, help kids sort those photographs with labels of then and now. And then as a secondary activity, have talk with kids about, okay, this is then, this is now, how do you know? And then moving forward, what's similar and what's different to common household items that I have. So these are working on two related historical analysis skills that would be appropriate for early elementary. Moving forward into first and then second grade, what you notice here is that the California framework is pretty clearly setting the stage for talking with our students about concepts of courage and heroism, particularly when it comes to introducing our students to the Great Migration and why folks were leaving, particularly southern states, and moving to California. And so if you look at the lesson ideas and teacher resources, you'll see some complementary children's literature about Great Migration. You'll see primary source sets on heroism. So there's lots of materials that we could borrow from other educators to emphasize the lessons that Felicia has laid out within this book. So I'll give just a moment for folks to look over this text-heavy but important slide. Okay, and then that's all I'll talk about with the curriculum mapping for now, and I would love to hand things over to our colleagues from the Marin County Free Library to walk us through the TK through second activity.
Thank you, Katie. And my name is Lynn Mays, and I'm the Senior Librarian at the Civic Center Library and the Auntie Kent California Room. And in our role as a community partner in education, we readily embrace opportunities to bring history to life, as Felicia's exhibit does. And our contribution in this instance is a simple extension activity designed around Felicia's book, which we hope will offer students an opportunity to reflect on what they saw and heard and experienced in the exhibit and perhaps go a bit deeper. So the structure is the same for each grade band. We follow a framework that begins with a pre-reading discussion, which you can see on this slide. And then we can advance to the next slide. This activity, again, is very much connected to the connector activity that we did at the very beginning. So you've got a little bit of a sneak preview of that. And then the following the pre-reading discussion, we highlight certain sections of Felicia's book and suggest a post-reading discussion and a follow-up activity as well. So our intent with these activities was to provide something that could be fairly turnkey, fairly ready-made, that you could just pull out kind of just on the spur of the moment, right after having seen the exhibit. And then, of course, with the grounding in the curriculum connections and the grounding in the slide that you saw previously, obviously there's room to go much, much deeper. But we did want to prepare something that could be a quick takeaway, just to use in the here and now, to get you kind of jump started or kick started into going deeper. So the handouts that you're seeing in these slides are going to be ready on the Marin County Office of Education portal by the end of the week, so that the supplementary materials also will be downloadable or hyperlinked as needed. And I just wanted to say thank you to our Dominican partners who provided significant feedback on these initial drafts, and also extend the same invitation to all of the educators, our experts in the field, who will let us know, we hope, what worked, what didn't. As librarians, we know that research and learning is always an iterative process. You're always going back and cycling through again. So we know this is just the beginning, and we look forward to your input and to that of all your students. Thank you. Go ahead and advance, Katie.
Great, thank you, everybody. I also just wanted to point out to folks the beautiful illustration on the activity that Lynn just talked about. This image is in the Marin City coloring book and is part of the activity. So I believe, Michelle, those will be on the website shortly. So I would like to hand things back over to Michelle to talk to us about the instructional materials site and what to expect next.
Great, thank you so much. So what I will do is I will place into the chat and into an email that will go to all librarians and all administrators across the county the link to our website that does have the instructional materials. It will have this slide deck. It will have the recording of today and the rest of this week's sessions. You know, even bookmarks, if you want to print out bookmarks for your classroom, there is a PDF that has that available for you. So do you want to click into that, Katie? Is that possible to do? Great, thank you. So here is a start of some of the materials. This will be growing over time. As Lynn had specified, by the end of the week, we'll have more materials to add to this. I'm currently adding the slide deck as we speak, so that will be there momentarily as well. So thank you so much for joining today. And I think we will go ahead and say goodbye. Is that it?
That's it.